Ben Simmons has pretty much single-handedly kept off-season news alive, and I just have to say right out of the gate, as an NBA content creator, thank you for that, Ben. But with there being a monumental amount of Ben Simmons discourse all around the internet, there has been quite a bit of stuff I've seen that's a tad troubling. I feel as though damn near every party involved in this discussion is wrong to some extent or another. Daryl Morey is wrong to think that he can get a crazy amount of value out of Ben. Ben is wrong to be mad at the Sixers to the extent that he is and request specific destinations to be traded under his circumstance. And fans are wrong to think that Ben Simmons is a scrub. So in today's video, for all parties involved, I wanted to provide a reality check on Ben Simmons. Before I continue on with this video, about half of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you fall into that 50%, then please subscribe. Also drop a like on this video, it only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference. Also, since I have not done it in quite a while, I figured I'd shout out my second channel where I've been doing extra off-season content over there, talking about the smaller stories that aren't good enough for main channel videos. So until I'm doing post-game reactions over there again, that's what's gonna be over there. I'm also doing top 10 of each position list this week, so go check that out. Okay, so right out of the gate, I think the first thing I should address is that Ben Simmons has quickly become one of the most overhated and over-criticized players in the league. Don't get me wrong, criticism in Ben's direction after the Hawks series was to be expected and completely warranted. As a Ben Simmons advocate over the last few years, I could not really defend the way he played in that series, nor would I even want to. However, it was pretty much inevitable that that criticism would go a step too far and overcorrect to the point where people just call him a scrub now. Overcorrecting is something NBA fans love to do, trust me. Ben Simmons is still an elite defensive player capable of defending 1 through 4, and I'd honestly say most 5s, not all of them, but like Ben can probably guard Steven Adams or Miles Turner just fine. Now, is he a defensive player of the year like many claimed? No, I wouldn't say so, but a damn good defender nonetheless. Playmaking wise, in the full court, it does not get much scarier than Ben Simmons, but the thing is, when we get into the half court, that's a different conversation. Due to his lack of a jumper and how lacking of a threat he is as a scorer overall, he does not possess the gravity to pull in defenders and make plays. He can find the open man no problem, but in terms of actually making that man open, that is a different story. Playmaking is more than passing. If you aren't a threat to score, your impact as a passer is pretty drastically reduced. This is why I've never been big on players who are great passers but aren't big scoring threats. So in the full court, Ben is an amazing playmaker. In the half court, he's not that great, but overall I'd say he'd be qualifying as a good playmaker. Can't run a fucking pick and roll though, because both the defenders just drop. Finishing at the rim wise and attacking the rim wise, Ben can actually be really good when he does it, but this is where the trouble begins with Ben. No, it's not a lack of a jump shot. I've said this a million times over, Ben's biggest problem isn't his lack of an outside shot. Sure, that's a source of a majority of his criticism, and if Ben was just an okay three-point shooter, I can't imagine he'd be nearly as hated as he is, but this play did not come from a lack of jump shot. It came from a lack of scoring aggression. Ben doesn't look to score the ball himself nearly enough, and that's where a majority of his problems come from. As I said earlier with the playmaking thing, Ben does not need a jump shot to have scoring gravity to draw in defenders. If he was just relentless attacking the basket as he has the physical tools and ability to do, as he's shown in spurts before, then he'd draw in defenders constantly. Russell Westbrook is a great example of this. Russ is an awful shooter, but damn is he aggressive, especially going to the basket. Prime Rajon Rondo as well. Barely shot the ball period, but he was always looking to attack the rim when the opportunity presented itself. This would draw in defenders and create opportunities for their teammates. It isn't a question of ability. We know Ben Simmons is capable of being really good as a slasher. It is a question of his willingness to actually do it. It is a question of his wiring. Ben doesn't have it in his brain to score. It's just not what he is thinking of when he's on the court. Y'all know that RDC World sketch where the guy refuses to take the open layup in favor of passing it as soon as he gets the ball? Yeah, that was literally Ben Simmons with that play versus the Hawks, and it's really just him all the time, period. And that is what plagues him more than the jump shot. It is his wiring. But, you know, a jumper would also be nice. Wouldn't complain about that, that's for sure. All that said though, Ben is still a top 50 player in the NBA. He's a great defender and a good playmaker, good rebounder. Really, he's just great at everything except for scoring. In some ways, I'd say he's a similar player to Draymond Green, another guy who's insanely undervalued routinely by NBA fans at his peak, though peak Draymond is definitely better than Ben is for sure. But it just shows you how much scoring and three-point shooting is emphasized by NBA fans. They are the most important thing in the game, but it's treated as though if you can't do both of those things, then you're a scrub, and that is just simply untrue. You can be a top 50 player in the league without those abilities, and Ben Simmons is a great example of that. Now, he's probably somewhere in the 40s rather than the mid 20s to maybe even high 20s for some people, as he would have been previous, but nonetheless, still top 50. And definitely not a fucking scrub like some people are acting like he is. Now, all of that said, the Sixers cannot be expecting to get a fucking overhaul in return for Ben. Ben apparently will not be reporting to training camp because he's a little bit salty, and we'll talk about that last. But as good as I think Ben is, his value is not what it used to be, and the Sixers are acting as though it is. You'd be insane not to think lesser of Ben Simmons after the postseason that he had, and that goes for every team's GM just as much as it does with fans. So you can't expect Ben to be like the focal point of a James Harden trade, as he seemed like he could have been not even a year ago. Ben does not have the value that Daryl Morey has been asking for. He has declined deals that would be a good return, and apparently wants young players and 4 future first-round picks. I'm sorry, Daryl, but you're just not getting that. It's not happening. Watch him get that and that age poorly. Ben's value at this point is probably 2 good starters of matching salary and I don't know, 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 first-round picks, depending on the team and how good they are. It'd have to be a great team for it to be 3 first-round picks. I also don't understand why the Sixers are so adamant about getting future firsts unless they plan on using them for a later move, because with Joel Embiid being 27 years old and injury-prone to the point of Sixers fans gasping and then praying anytime Joel falls on the floor, you need to focus more on win-now players. But like I said, they could very well just look to trade those picks later. Perhaps Daryl Morey is looking at it as ammo for a Dame trade, but I'm certain lots of teams could make a better offer than the Sixers even after that deal. Please don't unfollow me on Twitter for saying that, Daryl. Now, last but not least, we have Ben Simmons, who, even though I like to be charitable and nice to players much more than I was in my younger years, I say that like I'm old, and I'm not, despite what the comment section has to say, but I like to be charitable and nice and give players the benefit of the doubt, but Ben's acting like a bit of a fucking baby right now. Ben is refusing to report to training camp, which from a professional standpoint, I'm iffy as to whether or not to be critical of that because it can depend on the circumstances. If a player has serious and reasonable beef with the team, then it's understandable, but in this case, I wouldn't consider this beef reasonable at all. Did Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid say the nicest, most sugar-coated, coddling things ever after the Hawks series? No. But was it outright bashing like he's acting like it is? Nope. And if anything, the guy has needed the tough love. Ben Simmons is the biggest reason why the Sixers lost a series that they had absolutely zero business losing. And the fact that he immediately turns the anger of that over towards his teammates and his coaching staff rather than looking inwardly and looking at himself is rather concerning. And I'd imagine the mentality that Ben is showing with that is quite a big reason for why he has been a little bit of a disappointment as a player, because he's not been what a lot of people expected he could be after his rookie year. And the fact that he can't reflect on himself and the negatives that he brought to the table might be part of why that's the case. Ben Simmons has absolutely no one to be mad at but himself. Embiid did not make him pass up that dunk. He wasn't the one who never developed a jump shot and insist on shooting with the wrong hand. Doc Rivers isn't the one who made Ben shoot the ball 6 times a game over a 7-game series and shoot 33% from the free throw line. If it's the fact that he just wants leverage so that he can get a change of scenery, then I'm good with that, I guess. But it really seems like he is upset upset with the Sixers and management, and he should be upset at himself. And as for asking to be traded to a specific destination or a handful of teams, when you have a 4-year contract and you are probably overpaid on that contract, you do not get the luxury of asking for a specific destination with a trade. That is a luxury only the best of the best on shorter contracts have. Hell, even James Harden ended up expanding his list of teams as time went on with Houston. So anyways, that was a reality check on Ben Simmons. I appreciate Ben for giving me so much offseason content, but at the same time, this conversation is starting to get exhausting. I would like to see him moved elsewhere because I think it'd be best for him. I think it'd be best for the Sixers, and it would just be nice to end this fucking conversation. So yeah, shout out to Rudy for editing this video. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and keep the outro music. Dude, I went to a concert and I'm recording this video after the concert. I can't tell if I'm really quiet or if my ears ringing is just overshadowing the sound of my voice.